What up, boys and girls? What up, YouTube? Yeah, check this out, right? So, this is Hayley Williams' house in Marsden Road, Greymouth. Let's get that in the sun to see it better. Yeah. So this is where she was shot. At the front of the driveway there, so you can see like a crime scene. Tent erected to the right of the house. Cops standing guard, stuff like that. Yes, that's Grey Central, for those of you who don't know Greymouth. I mean, Marsden Road does go for ages. It goes further out of town, but that's the central part of Marsden Road right there. So you got two cop cars. You can't really see the crime scene tent so well on that one. It is there, though. Oh, actually, there's a third one behind, isn't there? That's sort of a detective's or a slightly different marking. It's a red cop car. Yeah, so, anyway, the bloke who was jailed for her shooting is this guy, and his name is George Sean Warren. So yeah, he's serving a prison sentence at the moment. I'm not sure. I think he's in Christchurch, or at least they took him there after his court case, but I don't know if he's still there or not. Christchurch means prison, but he's in some prison anyway. So let's set this up, and I'll read you the podcast I got. Yeah, I thought I'd park here because those trees are kind of cool, you know? My show's not suitable for children. Kids, click off. And anyone suffering from PTSD, also click off and seek support from your GP. Or call one of the many 0800 numbers available. My show is just for educational purposes and not to cause offense to Hayley Williams or anyone else really. Well, anyway, I was just going to record this on I was going to record this one on location, but when I went to Marsden Road that day to record it, I don't know, it just didn't feel right and my words weren't coming out right, so I cancelled it and we're recording here instead. But anyway, anyone who does want to see the actual crime scene on one of my videos, go back through my you go back almost all the way to the beginning of my channel, and there's one called Three Cases Drive Around Greymouth Montage or something like that, where I'm just talking about a few Greymouth cases and driving around, and I actually pull up outside the house in that one if you want to actually see it on a video. I'll link it in the description. Anyway, on the 22nd of October 2017, Hayley Williams got shot by the Maori Mafia. Now, I'm just changing the gang name. If you want to know the gang I'm talking about, if you're not sure, it's got the same initials, MM, and I'm talking about the gang that wears red and they bark like dogs and have Nazi tattoos and that kind of thing. So, anyway, this bloke George Sean Warren was allegedly a member of that gang. So, most of the information I have for this is on the 1-3 News that was coming out at the time, but yeah, anyway, as well as the Grey Star newspaper and some stuff in the Christchurch Press as well, I was reading at the time. So, was George, yes, so the news, the mainstream media, etc., says it was George Sean Warren with the .308 rifle. Yeah, so I was actually living in Greymouth when Hayley Williams was shot. And I also did hear a lot of hearsay information about the case too, from people who were not involved but did stand somewhere on the sidelines. And I'm going to tell you some of their perspectives later on in the show. I mean, I'm not saying everything that was told to me was accurate, as people I'm referring to include but not limited to two blokes who came into my gas station, one saying his daughter's ex-husband was the guy who gave George Sean Warren the gun. My flatmates from my Blaketown house. Yeah, see, the Blaketown house I rented, I had these blokes, but they actually used to live next door. These two blokes I live with, they actually used to live next door to Hayley Williams. It was a few houses down, but same street, you know, on Marsden Road anyway, in 2017. And yeah, they were living there when she was shot, but they weren't home at the time. Their flatmate was though. But anyway, neither of these guys were home at the time, but yeah, their flatmate did hear the kerfuffle, and then the shot rang out, and then apparently a car door slammed and the car took off. So that was what he heard. But yeah, now let's read an article so you get what I'm talking about. Man charged with murder after Greymouth shooting. Written on Tuesday the 24th of October 2017. Available on www.Otago Daily Times, so it's odt.co.nz. Yeah, and although this is an Otago Daily Times article, it was actually first published in the Greymouth Star, so they must have bought the article from the Star. But anyway, man charged with murder after Greymouth shooting, 24th of October 2017. The man charged with the murder of a 43-year-old Greymouth mother of three on Sunday was granted interim name suppression when he appears in the Greymouth District Court this morning. The man was handcuffed in the dock and surrounded by 2 police constables and a prison officer. He did not enter a plea to the charge of murdering Hayley Williams at her Marsden Road home at about 4 p.m. on October 22nd. West Coast Police Area Commander Inspector Mel Atkin told the Greymouth Star today it was too early to confirm any further details of the investigation, including where on the property Mrs. Williams was at the time of the shooting. The Greymouth Star understands she was in the driveway, but police would not confirm that. I can confirm nobody else was injured or received injuries other than our victim who died, Miss Atkins said. Emotions ran high in court today and 2 people were escorted out of the courtroom for yelling obscenities when the offender appeared. The accused lawyer, Marcus Zintel, sought interim name suppression. Mr. Zintel told Judge Brian Callahan that, well, the horse may have bolted with the man's names already published on websites and media publications. Further publication posed real risk of prejudicing the trial. The court was closed to the public while the reasons for the suppression were discussed. The man was then remanded in custody by consent until November the 10th. He will appear at the High Court at Greymouth via audio-visual link on that date. Mr. Zintel also asked for reports to see if the defendant was fit to stand trial and whether or not he was sane. Yesterday, Miss Atkins said the defendant gave himself up peacefully after he was found walking on the old Christchurch Road between Arahura and Kawhaka. Police did confirm a number of children, including Miss Williams' 3 children, were at the house when the shooting took place, but they would not say if any of them witnessed the killing. Miss Atkins also described it as a non-domestic related incident. The phenomenal support from the public had helped police arrest the man 23 hours after the shooting and 1 hour after the alleged gunman was sighted. A vehicle had earlier been found, but police declined to specify if an associate of the alleged shooter was known to be in that vehicle at the time of the shooting. The type of firearm used and its whereabouts had also not been identified by last night. Kawhaka resident Jason Johnson told the Greymouth Star of a surreal turn of events after he spotted the man walking inland from Arahura about midday, and the gut feeling which led him to alert the police. When he returned to Hokitika about 3 p.m, he witnessed the police arresting the alleged shooter on Old Christchurch Road about 2 kilometres east of the marae. When he first spotted the man walking on the road closer to the Kawhaka farming area about midday, he was dressed in wet weather gear and might have been a local farmer, except he had no vehicle. As I was coming into town, I was humming and hawing, should I do anything? The man's strange behaviour was the decider, as he had tried to hide his face. There was a bizarre set of circumstances. There was a guy walking in the rain and he hid his face. I had a gut feeling and I acted on it. I thought it was strange behaviour. I've never seen the gentleman at all. Normally you'd wave or show your face. Mr. Johnson heard the calls on the radio for reports of suspicious behaviour and acted upon it and went to the Hokitika police. He could not believe his eyes about 3 hours later to round a curve well past the marae to see police on the scene. I saw the guy drop to his knees and he put his hands in the air. The brackets shooting, being in Greymouth, the last thing you'd think is the brackets offender was on your own street. Mrs. Atkins said the alleged shooter was known to police. Marsden Road residents near the scene of the shooting could expect to see the presence of police investigators over the next 7 days, she said. End of article. Okay, so that gives you like some idea of what happened. Yeah. And just remember, just because I heard something doesn't make it true and accurate 100%. But equally, just because I read it in the newspaper or saw it on the news doesn't make it accurate 100% either. This show is simply me trying to figure out what might have happened on October the 22nd, 2017. But anyway, I was unemployed when Hayley Williams was shot. But when the subsequent court cases were playing out, I worked at Challenge gas station on Tainui Street, and we sold the Grey Star, which is the local newspaper in Greymouth. And I remember these two park-out blokes, one heavy set, another slim fella, probably both in their 50s, maybe 55 or something like that. And they come in one day and to get some gas, and yeah, the bloke that's paying for the gas, well, he points to the paper with a photo of Anthony Robert Moore on the front and says to me, "That's me daughter's ex-husband." I can't remember what I said back, but I remember him staring at the newspaper, getting more and more agitated. And then he made a remark to his friend, who by now is also looking at the front page of the Grey Star. And then he said in a real loud voice to no one in particular, "Stupid! So fucking stupid!" And his friend goes on to say, "Yeah, and that's why we don't smoke that shit, eh?" Of course, the bloke was referring to P, as it's called in New Zealand. You might know it in your respective countries as the drug ice. So yeah, when you live in a small town in New Zealand, it's actually really interesting because everyone knows everyone. I mean, I don't quite know everyone in Greymouth when I lived there, but you know, if there was someone I didn't know, we probably had the same mechanic, or paid rent to the same property manager, you know, some shit like that. I just feel the need to stop the show quickly and just mention for a minute, like, Greymouth West Coast is actually a really cool place to live, and I actually enjoyed my time there very much. But yeah, it's not without its problems. So as I understand it, Hayley Williams owed some cash to George Sean Warren for P. He went round to her place to collect, and when she couldn't pay, he done something nasty and sexual to her, with her son in the room. Now, I'm not exactly sure what he did do. Yeah, but I mean, he might have touched her up, for example, but she wasn't raped. But, you know, I just don't really know. I don't have any information about that. So, yeah. But anyway, her young son had to give a statement to the cops, and George Sean Warren was served with a protection order and a court date to answer to whatever he did do to Hayley Williams. Like I said, I'm not entirely sure. Obviously, it was bad, but yeah, there's no real detail describing exactly what events took place. But anyway, George Sean Warren, he wasn't having none of that. So he cooked up a plan with his mate to get a .308 bolt-action rifle off Anthony Robert Moore and pay Hayley Williams a visit in broad daylight. Yeah, and after the shooting, George Sean Warren, Anthony Robert Moore, and Corey Townsend drove off, heading south on State Highway 6. George Sean Warren gets out and walks up a quiet road where a local calls the cops, saying he was acting suspect, and that was that. Judge gave him 17 years prison non-parole. So yeah, he could be out in his early 60s if he stays out of trouble behind bars. But you know, that's how it goes here in New Zealand. In fact, 17 years with no possibility of parole is considered a good result. I mean, in this case, I think the New Zealand police did some good work. But I personally feel like the courts could have given him another couple of years for, it was like aggravating factors, you know, he shot her, the kids were home. But yeah, like I said, the police actually did quite a good job. And if you watch my show, which obviously you do, then, you know I don't say that much. So, you know, shout out to any law enforcement out there watching who actually, who actually do your job up to a high standard. If you actually give a fuck, then that's actually really cool. But it'd be better if the courts are giving him 19 years non-parole. Anyway, we'll read this next article. Hayley Williams murder, stuff.co.nz article. Murderer's driver admits role in West Coast mum's killing. And this one's written by David Clarkson on April the 30th, 2019. And of course you can find it on www.stuff.co.nz. A man who drove a West Coast killer to the house where a mother of 5 was shot in front of her children has admitted a manslaughter charge just days before his murder trial. Corey Robert Townsend, it's a hard one to say, Townsend. Anyway, Corey Robert Townsend, 39, pleaded guilty to the reduced charge at an appearance at the High Court at Christchurch on Tuesday and was remanded in custody for sentencing on May 24th. The murder trial had been scheduled to begin in Greymouth High Court on Monday. On October 22nd, 2017, he drove George Sean Warren to a Greymouth house where Warren shot Hayley Jane Williams as she pleaded for her life in the driveway. Warren pleaded guilty to murder in June 2018 and was jailed for life with a non-parole period of 17 years. Townsend admitted he had committed manslaughter by causing Williams' death with Warren, and also a charge of conspiring a charge of conspiring to defeat the course of justice by suppressing evidence as the police were making inquiries in the 2 months after the incident. He was an associate of both Williams and Warren. So this bloke knew the victim and the killer. Warren was arrested after turning up at Williams' address on September the 28th, 2017, and indecently assaulting her in front of one of her children. He was incensed about the arrest, and over the next 3 weeks, he made comments such as, "I feel like blowing that bitch's head off." He was due to appear in court in October the 24th, 2017. On the day of the murder, Townsend stayed in the car while Warren took a rifle, partially hidden under a jacket, to the front door. He earlier had been with Warren at the home. Anthony Robert Moore, who gave Warren a loaded .308 rifle. Yeah, so it was Anthony Robert Moore who gave the guy the gun. So that dude in the gas station who was shouting, that was his father-in-law. Anyway, Williams went to check a baby, so Hayley Williams, the victim, went to check a baby who was in a car seat in her vehicle on the driveway. There were 7 other children at the house, including 3 of Williams's. Warren aggressively confronted her and demanded she get in the car. When she refused, he grabbed her hair and hit her 5 to 9 times around the head and face. She cowered and pleaded with him that she would drop the indecent assault charge. He pointed the rifle at her and pulled the trigger twice, but it failed to fire both times. Hayley Williams said, "Sean, I've got 5 kids inside." Warren then cocked the rifle again, checking the round had entered the chamber. He then fired it into Williams's neck and throat from less than a meter away. 3 of the children saw or heard parts of what happened. One 11-year-old son hid in a wardrobe as part of a prearranged safety plan about Warren. After the shot was fired, he came out to find his mother dead in the driveway and began screaming. A 7-year-old son ran to a neighbor's seeking help. Towersey drove Warren away and stopped in the old Christchurch Road area, where Warren got out and went into the bush. Towersey was interviewed, but said he had no knowledge of the rifle. However, the defendant now accepts he was aware that Warren intended to use the firearm he obtained from Tony Moore to intimidate the victim, but does not accept he was aware that Warren had murderous intent. Crown Prosecutor Claire Boshier told the court, it's generous of the prosecutor to say that, actually. They could have said he did have murderous intent, but I don't know, I'm not saying he did, I just wasn't there, but and he might have got conned into giving him the gun, but yeah. But, still, it's like the guy in the gas station said to me, stupid! But yeah, that was full on. I remember that guy. Anyway, over the next 2 months, Towersey had contact with Moore, mainly by text message. They agreed to suppress evidence about their involvement, including threatening witnesses not to disclose the supply of a firearm to Warren, destroying or hiding their cell phones from police, and counseling witnesses to avoid disclosing evidence through text messages. End of article. So yeah, that was a pretty disturbing one, obviously. You see what I mean? He should have got 19 years for that, That's pretty bad, but, 17 years prison is no joke, but, yeah. But anyway, let's read the rest of what I got here. So, alright, anyone watching my show from Greymouth, because I know I've got a lot of Greymouth subs out there. Yeah, any of you who want to add anything that I missed out, or correct me in the comments section, go right ahead. Like I said before, this is just what I know from reading the Grey Star TV 1 and 3 news and talking to a few locals at Challenge gas station, but, Anyway, with any luck, Hayley Williams' children, they get to see a psychologist, or at least have some positive people filling in for Hayley's mother role in their lives. Yeah, as it happens, Greymouth has a massive gap of proper clinical psychologists, so I would hope that with a murder case as bad as this one, the New Zealand government is paying to send her kids to a child psychiatrist and go over in Christchurch or Dunedin or something, I don't know, 3 times a month or something until, just however long it takes, really. But that'll depend on what adults are in their lives and how good they are advocating for the children, for Hayley Williams' children. Yeah, but here's the thing. I was going to put a photo of Hayley Williams on the thing, but when I looked it up online, I was pretty sure I knew which one was her, but there was a few different Hayley Williamses, and I didn't want to put the wrong picture in my video, so I didn't, but yeah, you can look up online if you're interested. She looked like a really nice lady. Yeah, I think if I'm not mistaken, as I recall, it didn't say it in those articles, but as I recall, George Sean Warren was from Wellington. He moved down to Greymouth when when all that crazy shit went down, and yeah, so that was sort of when I first got to Greymouth, or not long after that this all took place. I mean, the dude was gang related, but at the same time, from the way I understand it in the articles, etc., it was more of like a personal beef thing between her and Hayley Williams. I'm not sure. Of course, it does send a pretty big message to the people of Greymouth. Hey, if you guys, give information to police against any members of the Maori Mafia gang, I mean, this is what's going to happen to you. You get shot broad daylight. So I mean, that's one thing to consider. But then it was also like, I mean, because it was just him acting. I mean, he had those other two blokes with him, but I think they were his lackeys. I don't think they were actually members of his gang. Smart criminals always use dumb criminals for stuff they want, like a gun or a ride to the, in this case, a gun and a ride to the murder. But yeah, so he needed someone to drive. Yeah, so they were kind of his little servant lackey dudes, and then he went there and shot her. Whereas a lot of the times, some gangs like the Mafia and that, they'll get young dudes to do it who want to earn their patch and stuff like that. For this particular case, it looked like he was so angry with her for going to the cops about him that he just decided he wanted to do it rather than it actually being a... Well, I mean, I don't know. Like, I just have no idea. It seemed like that was the case. I don't think it was I don't think it came from the higher ups in the gang. I think it was more personal. Yeah. All right, cool. Well, that's my show. Thanks for watching. Have a good day, and I hope it all goes well. Chef.